Were you told you were shy? Do you identify as shy? Do you hate that word now? Do you just wish you could get over it and get on with your life? Welcome to Shining Beyond Shy, empowering you to create a greater life than you ever thought was possible. With your Shining Beyond Shy host, Fiona Cups. So hi, it's Fiona Cuts here from Shining Beyond Shy, and I am so happy this week that I have an amazing guest, Donna, and I should have asked you how to pronounce your surname, Donna. Do you want to tell us?
Yes, it is Tashjian.
Tashjian, yes, I'm glad I didn't attempt that. So Donna, you're a life mastery coach and you help people rise above painful paths to live the life of their dreams. And well, I love that. I think probably all of us can relate to some kind of pain in our past. And this particular podcast is about shyness. And for a lot of us who've been shy or who are shy, it's been really painful for us. So can I start by asking you about your journey? How did you come to be a life mastery coach who now helps people with their past, painful pasts?
Well, I've heard it said that you're not a coach unless you've had your own pain in your life. So that is true for me as well. From a very early adult age, I was the girl, even probably before then, I was the girl that people were always coming to and talking about their problems. And that they would say things like, I can't believe I'm telling you this. I've never told anybody this. That kind of thing was always going on. So it was an innate gift that I had to be able to help people without even realizing it from a very early age. But I had a traumatic event that happened at the age of 14. And I found myself pregnant. I grew up in a blended home where my biological father didn't have any, I don't even know him really. I mean, I know who he is, but I don't know him, if that, and so there was all of these, and I'm telling the story quickly, but you can imagine as a teenager, that was extremely painful. A lot of shame, embarrassment, blame, low self-worth, and already feeling rejected from my biological father. And so abandonment and all of those kind of things were going on. And through the process of learning how to succeed and overcome in those kind of situations. And I already mentioned I was innately gifted in this. So I had even more pain points to be able to help people through. So I've always done all of the time raising my children and doing various other businesses and jobs. I've always had a component of, we would have called it mentoring instead of coaching in the past.
Yeah.
And learning how to help people through adversities. But about 10 years ago, I had a job loss that I thought was going to be my dream job. And through that process of overcoming that loss hit me really hard. And overcoming that, Vibrant Living International was born. So that's how I got to this place, if you want the abbreviated version of the story.
Do you know what's really interesting when you say that, when you talk about being 14 and finding yourself pregnant? It's like, well, as you see, I'm much older than 14, but I still remember what that would have been like in my family. And
absolutely.
And how it was. I mean, I went to a girls' school and there were a couple of girls at our school who had that, and just how full on that is, and how it really must shape your life in all kinds of ways, not just the physical thing of having your child with you at that time. But as you say, at 14, I wasn't grown up. I mean, probably, to be honest, at 24, I wasn't grown up. So to have all of that at that age is...
so I was 18 with a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, if you get the picture, I'm 18 with a 3-year-old. And so it's, you know, trying to remember where you were when you were 18 and trying to figure out how to finish school and get a job and get my own place and all of that kind of stuff was. So because of all of that, I would now call myself a wallflower. It's like, I did stuff, I accomplished stuff, but don't recognize me, don't notice me. I'm going to hide. And all of that. So I don't know that I would have called myself specifically shy, but it was when we're hiding, when we don't want people to notice us. And so for me, that's what it all stemmed from, is those kind of emotions and feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, well, let's use the word shy, but and I hear it may not be exactly shyness. So do you consider yourself that now, or has that changed for you?
No, I wouldn't consider myself shy at all now. Yeah. It did take a lot of progress to do that.
Yeah. And can you tell us about that? Because it's interesting. So in the work that I do with people who experience shyness, there are some people who are so shy that they can't, literally, it's difficult for them to leave their houses. And then at the other spectrum, there are people who've gone through that and who are, okay, now I'm not shy, but I have no idea what I want in my life, which is interesting with you, with your vibrant living. And now I've said all that, I'm not sure.
Yes, well, I don't think I was ever shy enough that I didn't leave the house, because that wasn't an option with a child. You don't have a choice. Yeah. You don't have a choice in those kind of situations, what you're going to. Well, I guess I did have a choice, but my choice was to put her first, not myself first. And so learning to be able to do whatever I needed to do, but that feeling of not good enough, to me, was my undergirding feeling of reason why I don't really want to be recognized or noticed, you know, and why I'm hiding and being shy. One of the things that one of my coaches took me through as I was launching Vibrant Living, because I needed to be more visible than I ever had before. For quite a while, I wouldn't do a video. Now I'm on camera almost all day long. And so it's a big, huge difference. But she took me through a process of asking me, what did being visible, what did being seen, which is the opposite of shy and hiding, what did that mean to me? And as I began to go through the session with her on what that meant for me, I had a memory come up. And I remember I was small. I'm thinking probably 8, but my memories are mixed, which is a lot of us have had abuse and things in our childhood that we don't remember everything. But I remember that my family had blended, and I had new stepbrothers that were picking on me and making me cry. And mom told me that if I cry, I'll get picked on more, so not to cry. So I'm learning to stuff my emotions. And I hid underneath a bed. And my thought was, I'm going to see if anybody notices that I'm missing in the world. And learning that nobody came to find me. And I don't know how long I was under there. In my little girl mind, it was a long time. And no one missed me. It was one of those old box springs that are open. And so my hair got caught in it. And then I'm having to pull my hair out to try to get out. And I'm crying and the whole thing. But somehow that little girl determined nobody would really miss me. Nobody would really miss me. And nobody notices whether I'm here or not. And there's a lot of us that feel that way, but that doesn't mean it's true. Just because we feel that way doesn't mean it's true. So being seen and not being shy, whenever you call my name, I expected to be in trouble. You know that feeling when you're at work and the boss goes, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And your stomach falls? but almost all the time it was for something good. But I had the feeling, my initial response is, oh, crap, and your stomach just falls and you feel sick at your stomach that you're going to be in trouble. The other thing it meant is I was given more work to do. It was a large family. Everybody had a lot of tasks and things. And so it was never a good thing if somebody called my name.
Yeah.
And so the opposite is don't let anybody notice me. I'm going to hide. I'm going to be shy. I'm going to retreat into the background and not have anybody notice me. And so that was my feeling of where it all came from for me.
Yeah, yeah. And was having the awareness of that when your coach, your mentor asked you those questions, was that enough for you to change it, or did you need to do something else to change it to where you are now?
Well, I'm making it sound super simple. But it is a process and it is a growth. But one of the things that I began to ask myself, was that really true today? Was it still true today? And, we're defined by the story we tell about ourselves. And there's a reason, there's innately where we're introverts and extroverts. That's just part of different people's makeup. But I can be an introvert and still not be shy. So one doesn't necessarily equal the other. So what is my story around being shy? And I told you mine. And then I can decide to write a new story. Now, what's the story when people see my name? What is the story when people see my face? What is the story when people notice me? And I wrote a new story of what was actually happening and true, as people wanted to talk to me. People wanted, it was all positive. Not that it's all positive all the time, but generally speaking, it was good. So learning to rewrite my own story changed my behavior, as well as how many people I was able to touch for my life.
Yeah, I love so many things where you're talking then. And one of the things that I see so much in the classes I facilitate in the private sessions is that people have these images of themselves from the past for whatever reasons, as you've described with you. And they don't notice when they've changed sometimes. So I often ask people, and I have to actually, to be honest, I ask myself this as well. Hey, am I being the up-to-date version of me? Have I forgotten that I've actually changed this, and this script, this story actually isn't true for me anymore?
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, a lot of that stuff for the people I work with has changed quite dynamically. And will there be more to change? Yes. And as you say, is it as simple as us sitting here and describing it? It's more complex than we're describing it. And at the same time, sometimes my sense is these self-development paths can be simpler than we make them as well. And
yes, absolutely. They don't have to be hard. They do not have to be hard. That's why I call my program, I love you. I love the title of yours. And I love these titles that describe what's going to happen with us. And my program is called Turn Your Baggage into Luggage, so you can create the life you've always dreamed. And it is the feeling that all of the things that happened to me in my life that I could stay and permeate, just go over and over that, all of it can be used for me to help other people. And the same goes for all of us. No matter what has happened to our life, it can be changed from baggage into luggage.
And what would you say, particularly if there's somebody listening to this who is incredibly shy? Well, do you have anything that you would like to say to those people who may be really struggling with this?
One of the biggest keys for me and the women that I have worked with is most of the time when we're feeling very shy and stuck, we are we're looking in our rearview mirror We're looking, and and when we're driving your car, if you were trying to drive down the road and you look in your rear view mirror the whole time, you're going to either pull over and stop, or you're going to crash, because you can't drive a car forward looking in the rear view mirror. And we try to drive our life, if you will, the car of our life, down the road looking at the past. And that's my focus. That's the filter that I see everything through. And as long as I continue to look backwards, I will feel stuck in that shyness. But what I would do, one of the steps is begin to look out the windshield. That's yesterday. What do I want tomorrow to look like? If I could create anything that I wanted, if I could have the life I wanted, what would it look like? Stay in your home and just write it on a piece of paper. Just begin to say, what would I really like my life to look like if I could wave a magic wand, if you will, and create what I wanted? What would I want to be doing? How would I want to be being? And that would be a really huge step, is begin to look in the windshield, if you will. One of my favorite quotes that I have used for myself and many, many hundreds and hundreds of women is my past does not have to define me unless I let it. My past does not determine my future without my permission. So just because we've had whatever it is in the past, we get to choose our future.
I love what you say. And one of the things I've noticed with me and a lot of my clients is that when we have that question, what would I like in my future? It's like, for me, I had no idea to begin with, absolutely no idea. It's like my upbringing basically said to me, well, you're clever, so you should first of all do these academic things at school. Oh, now it's time to go to university and graduate, and really these are the three careers available to you. And I think they were doctor, which wasn't actually available to me, definitely not with my skill, my brain, and lawyer and accountant. And literally my brother became a lawyer, I became an accountant. And this was one of the things for me on my journey, that I actually had no idea what creating a life for me was actually about.
Most of us don't. It isn't a training. It isn't a skill we're really taught. We're just given this path we're supposed to follow, and we have no clue whether it's really something that I would like or not. And a lot of times we start on a path and go, I might like to be an accountant. And then you're like, no, I really don't like this, and learning as we go. And that's okay too. We can try things and it not be the perfect thing yet. One of the most amazing things, and I have learned as I have matured, is that life is a journey, and to embrace every part of it and not feel like I've got to get it perfect today. That just take a step and enjoy the journey.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny, as you were saying that, it's like I was thinking, actually, I think when I was younger, I did have it in my head that really, the choice that I made at whatever it was, 21, 22, to become an accountant, that I was bad and wrong if it didn't work out. And then it started not to work out. And, I could see my parents' differing reactions, but for both of them, it was kind of like, although they were trying to be supportive, it was like part of them thought it was really wrong. It's actually, I think my dad died a year and a half ago, but actually there was a certain point at which both of them began to see that my life was just going in a different direction from anything they could ever have imagined. And it was like, as I came to peace with the way I was living my life, it allowed them to as well. And I didn't have the same kind of criticism and judgment from them. But then, to be honest, I wasn't giving it to myself. So if I keep it about me. But yeah, it's very
there feels like so much pressure to get it perfect around the 20 age, when you're getting out of, college, university, and figuring out what you want to do. There feels an incredible amount of pressure. And then, you know, you get older and you're like, I should be further along than I am. And all of those kind of judgments that we do. And when we begin to just relax into our journey, it does change how people are relating to us as well, because I've changed my view of me, like you said. And I love that.
Yes, me too. It's like, I didn't, you know how you sometimes read about things in a self-development book or from a coach or something. And it was only when it occurred with my dad that as I started to change, he dynamically changed without knowing anything about what I was doing or even having any interest in it, to be honest. But he really, really changed. And I was like, oh, okay. This is what everyone's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. And so I think I looked at your website. I can't remember where I read this, but I think it was something from you when you were talking about, so I guess the path of vibrant living is a path towards greatness in your life. And I guess we all know people who choose greatness or who become great, and others who don't. What do you see as the characteristics of those people who choose greatness? And when I say greatness, it isn't just necessarily that they have, well, we already used the word perfect. It's not necessarily the absolutely perfect life, but it's the kind of stepping into trusting and honoring ourselves and not being put off by the shyness, the fear, the whatever.
Yes, I totally agree with your definition of greatness. Greatness, me being great, is me being Donna. And whatever that looks like today, it's embracing and really, truly beginning to love yourself without the perfection needing, the performance needing, the judgments, the failures, without all of those kind of things that we focus on, is just being the best me I can today. And it may be different tomorrow, but being the best me I can be today, that is really being great. I know you feel the same way. Comparison kills, absolutely kills. And if I'm trying to be Fiona, I will never be great. There is no way I can try on my very best day to be Fiona, and I will never be great because I will only be an imitation of you. And it's funny when we try to be perfect, because I'm only imperfect when I'm measuring myself against somebody else, because I'm perfectly me every single day. And if I can learn to live authentically, work with a counselor, a coach, to get to where the place I can love myself, then I am truly great. And then I can be able to see more clearly out of the windshield. Because I agree with you. We sit down and go, what do you want? I'm like, I can tell you what I don't want. I don't want to be this and I don't want to be that, but I don't really know what I do want. And no one ever asks us what we want. We're told all the time what to do.
Yes.
And so that's my definition of greatness, is just finding and really loving yourself. It sounds super simple, but it is a journey to be able to get to that place. And that's when we begin to change our fears, realizing that they're really not true. And that I can begin to be excited about life, that I can have hope instead of hiding and being shy in the whole process.
Yeah. And it's funny, there's another thing that you talk about or write about, the thing of fear and excitement, and how sometimes we can think we're afraid, but if we dig a bit deeper, we find that that fear is actually excitement about a new opportunity or something. I think you talk about that.
Yeah, there's always an attachment of there's two basic different kinds of fear. There's fear that is the nightmare. It's the really bad fear. And then there's fear that I'm going to start a new job. It's that's attached to excitement. So begin to transform all of the really lies that we have believed, that we need to hide. Nobody's going to like me. Everybody's going to criticize me. All of the lies I believed when I was being shy and hiding, is learning to change that into, no, people actually, it's like, no, people really need what you have to share, and people really need to hear you, and people need to hear you being you, whatever that is for you that are listening today. You just being you makes a difference in the world. And I want you to know that today.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's really interesting. This is one of the things that really helped me, because I think it was impossible almost at the time for me to believe that I had something that was valuable for people to hear. It's like my view of myself as a shy person. And I love that. We all have something that the world requires to hear, and it may not be something verbal. It may be something about the way we're living our lives, or our abilities to paint or to sing, or it's not necessarily about speaking up, but it's about the words that come are about being up. So being us, choosing our lives, creating our lives. Absolutely. Being us in the world.
Absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I'd like to ask you before we finish to just give us your details so that listeners can find you if they'd like to. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we finish?
I just want to remind you what the quote I said earlier. My past doesn't have to determine my future. And begin to even grasp onto that, that there could be more than you've currently experienced. And as far as getting in touch with me, my website would be a great place. I am on all social media as well. And you could message me where my name is unusual, so I will be easy to find. And my website is the letter I, vibrantliving.com. And I'm sure that'll be in the show notes as well. There is a free book right on the main page. You can schedule a consultation with me where I can help you figure out what your next steps are and talk through some of this. Whatever support that I can give you, I would love to do.
Okay, that's brilliant. And yes, we will put all of this in the show notes. So if you didn't catch that as you're listening, you'll find it in these notes. Well, it's a total pleasure to meet you virtually, Donna, and yes. Thank you so much for the conversation. And
my pleasure.
You for listening. And I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I'm so grateful for you. It would be great if you could subscribe, great if you could leave a review wherever you're listening. And if you'd like some quick, simple tips to overcome shyness wherever you are, please go to my website, fionacuts.com, where you can download my free product, 5 Steps to Overcoming Shyness Wherever You Are. Thank you again, and see you next time.